If you're a fan of Bizarre Podcasts and would like to be updated regularly on the show, or just come and have a chat, you can join us on our Facebook group now. I will include the links in the description for this episode. Also, if you could give us a review on iTunes, that would help us immensely, and I would really appreciate it.
Welcome to Bizarre Podcasts.
Hello, welcome back to Bizarre Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing how the Simpsons have successfully predicted the future on many occasions over the past years. I actually remember when I was a young boy, back in 1990 I think it was, when the Simpsons came over to the UK and was beginning to broadcast on the television. Unfortunately, my mother could not afford satellite TV, so the prospects of me watching the series was very slim. Until my aunt, who lived further down the street, got satellite television installed. I remember stealing one of my mother's video cassette tapes that she used to record Coronation Street, a soap in the UK. It's awful. And I took it to my auntie and asked her would she record The Simpsons for me every night, and she did. And I'm still watching the show today with my children. And it would seem that over the years the Simpsons have been predicting the future without knowing it. When you think about famous people who have made famous predictions, my mind automatically goes over to Nostradamus. But maybe we should just push him to one side for a moment. Just forget about him. And pay a little bit more attention to Homer Simpson and his family. Because according to my list, the Simpsons have seemed to turn these predictions into reality over the past 29 years or so. So without further ado, let's begin today's episode. The many times the Simpsons have successfully predicted the future. Okay, and the first prediction on my list is from Season 20, Episode 4, which aired in 2008. In this particular episode, Homer is seen to be trying to vote for Barack Obama in the US general election, but the machine was faulty and changed his vote every time he tried to make it. In the real world, in 2012, in Pennsylvania, a voting machine had to be taken away due to it being faulty and changing votes for Barack Obama to ones of his rival, Mitt Romney, just as it did 4 years previously for Homer Simpson in that particular episode. Coincidence? Let's carry on. The next prediction is taken from Season 8, Episode 1. In this episode, which aired in 1998, television's hopelessly brainless but lovable character Homer Simpson predicts the mass of the Higgs boson, a whole 14 years before the actual discovery. In the episode, Homer becomes an inventor. He invents things such as the electronic hammer and the hilarious make-up shotgun. Later in the episode, he can be seen working on an equation on a chalkboard with donut pictures at the bottom. I'm not sure what he was trying to discover, but it turns out he actually wrote down the equation for the mass of the God particle, the Higgs boson, a whole 14 years early, making Homer one of the cleverest people of our time. In the real world in 1964, Professor Peter Higgs and 5 other physicists theorised that the Higgs boson particle could be a real thing. In 2012, on July the 4th, the particle was discovered by the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, thus making this Simpsons prediction a reality. And the next prediction comes from Season 6, Episode 19, which is titled Lisa's Wedding. This episode is set in the then future of 2010. In this imaginary future, wristwatch smartphones seem to exist. However, it was only in 2014 that these watches seemed to appear in the real world. And now with this one, you could actually argue that many cartoons did feature the smartwatch many years before it was actually a reality. I think the Jetsons probably had it. I remember the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had communication devices with video on them. So you could argue that the Simpsons didn't actually predict this, and many other cartoons that came before it did. But I thought, what the heck, we'll include it anyway. The next prediction is from Season 23, Episode 22, Lisa Goes Gaga. This episode aired in 2012, and it would seem that The Simpsons foretold Lady Gaga performing whilst flying through the air on a harness. The real event took place at the Super Bowl halftime show back in 2017, which had Lady Gaga putting on quite a show. She started the routine by flying above the crowd on a harness, wearing a metallic-like outfit. Now, if we go back in time 5 years before, in 2012, in the episode Lisa Goes Gaga, the star is animated, entertaining the residents of Springfield, which seems to match the 2017 real-life performance at the Super Bowl, by flying over the audience on a harness, in an outfit that looked almost identical to the real-life one. Now, it's not known if Lady Gaga was actually inspired by the episode, but it is known that she was aware of the episode, as she did actually voice her character in the show. And the next prediction is from Season 4, Episode 6, Itchy and Scratchy the Movie. In this episode, the animated troublemakers Itchy and Scratchy, whose cartoons are always gratuitous in violence, have a billboard built in the episode to advertise their new movie. The billboard in the episode seems to be an animatronic billboard, with moving parts, which shows Itchy hitting Scratchy over the head with a camera, and fake blood spraying from Scratchy's ears all over the street below. Years later in the real world, in 2008, a billboard was erected by a TV network to advertise the movie Kill Bill, which was due to be aired on their channel. The billboard showed Uma Thurman wielding a samurai sword, with fake blood that sprayed from the blade, covering the street below in very convincing fake blood, just like the one in the Itchy and Scratchy episode. And the next prediction is probably one of my favourite ones. It comes from Season 5, Episode 10, and is titled Springfield. In this episode, Mr. Burns legalises gambling in Springfield and opens a casino. In this episode, the entertainers Siegfried and Roy, the magicians, are parodied on the show. And in this episode, we see the magicians viciously attacked by the White Tiger whilst performing on stage. Now, fast forward 10 years later, in 2003, in the real world, the magicians were performing on stage in Las Vegas with one of their trained white tigers when horrifically, Ray Horn was viciously attacked by the tiger and sustained serious injuries. Luckily he survived, but his career however did not and came to an abrupt end. And you know, for anyone who actually believes that The Simpsons has been successfully predicting the future over the many years, this one has got to be the one with the most credence, whether you believe it's successful predictions or just coincidence. You got to admit it is uncanny how accurate it was actually portrayed. And the next on the list is from Season 2, Episode 4, which aired in 1990. 2 cars for every garage and 3 eyes on every fish. In this episode, Blinky the three-eyed fish is introduced in the series. The three-eyed fish is a result of a leaked radiation in the lake, which mutated the fish, giving it an extra eye. In 2011, a mutated three-eyed fish was found in the real world in a lake near a nuclear power plant in Argentina. It would seem that Blinky is now a real thing, and three-eyed fish now seem to exist in the real world. And the last one on my list is actually quite chilling. It's from Season 9, Episode 1, 1997. And in this particular episode, it is suggested that The Simpsons actually predicted the horrific, tragic events of 9/11. In this episode, we see The Simpsons travelling to Manhattan to recover the family car, which was taken by Barney Gumble, and abandoned outside the World Trade Center. In a certain scene, Lisa Simpson can be seen holding up a magazine, which has the number 9 in bold print, with the image of the Twin Towers in the background, which also seem to look like the number 11. And when you put it all together, you get 9/11. This is probably one of the most disturbing predictions The Simpsons have so-called made, apparently predicting 9/11 4 years before that tragic day, when 2,996 people were killed and 6,000 people injured, on the day that the Twin Towers fell. Now, there's plenty more predictions that did not make my list that The Simpsons have made over the year. I'll mention a few now, such as Disney buying out Fox, the creation of irradiation-spawned vegetables, the horse meat scandal in 2013 in the UK, the creation of a baby translator which translates your baby's cries, the Ebola virus outbreak in 2014, and of course, The Simpsons successfully predicted the presidency of Donald Trump. But do you believe that there's more than meets the eye when it comes to the favourite yellow family predicting the future? Or is it all just a set of amazing coincidences? As usual, I'll let you decide. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. If you're a fan of Bizarre Podcast and would like to be updated regularly on the show, or just come and have a chat, you can join us on our Facebook group now. I will include the links in the description for this episode. Also, if you could give us a review on iTunes, that would help us immensely, and I would really appreciate it.